In this lecture, we will discuss how can we make this advanced login system more real. So let's come on that screen too, where the user is going to come on after successfully logging into this app. How about if we can show his ID and photograph on this screen too. So for doing that, we can come on this designing part and let's decrease the size of this welcome screen. So that's how we can do it, right? And I am going to put it over here. Fine. Now right above this welcome screen, let's define an image button. Let me change the dimensions of this image button. Okay, so now it is looking fine, and let's increase the border radius of this image button, so we can keep it, we can make it 49. Fine. Now next to this image button, I would like to have a label box. So I am defining a label box like this over here. Let's change this to center. Fine. Now I'm going to select an appropriate theme for this screen too. So let's go for this one. Yeah, this is looking nice. So let's make use of this one for this screen too. Okay, now besides this, I would like to define two buttons over here on this screen. One with which the user can log out from this app anytime, and the second with which the user can delete his profile anytime from this platform. So these are the two buttons which are going to help the user for doing the same. Now let's change the IDs of these two buttons. So I'm changing the ID of this one to log out, and I'm changing the ID of this button 2 to delete. Okay, when the user will access this application on his device, he is going to come on this screen 4 first. Alright, so here what we can do, we can place a photo select button, okay, using which the user can upload his profile pic. Right, so I'm going to place it right on the top, and let's place it here. Yeah, let's do some changes over here in this background color property of this camera. So I would like the background color to be transparent. So that's how I can do it. Right, so it is completely transparent in the background now. Okay, and I don't want to see this border kind of thing which is appearing right now. For that, what I can do, I can make this border width 0 and the border will go disappear. So now when the user will come on this screen, he is going to write down his email address over here, and he will mention his password over here in this field. Besides, he is going to upload his profile pic using this photo select button. Let's rename this, let's rename the ID of this photo select button to this photo. Now we are going to go on that coding panel and make some changes in the coding we have defined for this sign up button. So this is the code which is going to get executed when the user will hit this sign up button. Let's make the required changes. So I'm going to convert it into text based coding. And there are two fields right now inside these two curly brackets. I have defined one for saving the email part and the second for saving the password part. Now in order to save the photo which the user is going to select with the help of this photo select button, in this table named users, we can define a field over here. Let's define a field with name photo. And photo, when he will upload the photograph with this button, it is going to get uploaded in the form of a URL, that is Uniform Resource Locator. Now how can we get that URL? So there is a specific block which you can make use of for getting that URL of the uploaded photograph, and the block which you can use is this get image URL. So either you can just pick it and drop it over there, you can do it like that also, you can do it like this, or else you can write down this get image URL over here, and automatically in this IntelliSense window you will be able to see this get image URL reflecting. So I'm going to choose this get image URL from the IntelliSense window, and now the ID of this photo select button is photo. That's what I need to mention over here. Okay, now when the user, after selecting the photograph, mentioning his email address and password over here, will hit this login button, will hit this sign up button, so automatically this table users will get created, and these three columns are going to be there in that table. And once he is done with registering his profile, he is going to get redirected on this screen one. Now when the user will hit this login button, okay, in case the credentials which he has mentioned over here are correct, definitely he is going to get redirected on this screen too. Now when he will come on this screen too, I would like the email address which the user with which the user has registered his profile on this platform to get reflected over here, and the profile pic which he uploaded while creating his profile should get reflected over here in this image button. So how can we do that? See, this is the button which is going to redirect the user to this screen too. So we need to make certain changes in the coding that we have defined for this login button. Let's come on that coding first. So this is the one. Now if the email address matches with the one which the user is going to enter over here, and the password which he will mention here will match with the password with which he created his profile on this platform, so the user will get redirected on this screen too. Right, now inside this if loop we can mention two more. First thing that I'm going to mention is this set text property. So I'm going to set the text for this label box we have on this screen too, the ID of which is label1. Let's write down the ID of this label box over here. This from where can I get the text for this label1? So we can get it from this line of code, records I. Now we would like the email address of the user to get reflected over here, right? So we can make use of this field in which all the IDs are getting saved. Fine. Besides, in order to set the image for this image button, we can make use of this code set image URL. Get image URL is for getting the URL, and set image URL is for setting the image for any image component. The ID of this image component is image5, and from where can I get the image URL? So we can make use of this code. Let's copy it and place it over here. Now the images are going to get saved in this photo named column, right? So we need to get the image from this photo named column. So that's how we can do it. Okay, now let's check whether this code we have defined over here is going to give us the right output or not. So I'm going to run this app. Okay, so let's delete the user's name table which is already present on the data browser, and now I am going to run this app and create a profile on this platform. So we need to upload a pic first. So for that I need to click on this photo select button, and it is going to redirect me on one of the location present on the device I'm working on at present. So let's go for this photograph. So I have selected this photograph. Let's hit this open button. Fine, here I am going to mention my email address, and here I am going to mention a password. Okay, so let's hit this login button and see what is going to happen.
Your profile has been created successfully.
Okay, so a user's named table has got created over here. Now let's see what do we have inside this table. So we have the email address, the password with which I created the profile, and also this URL of the photo that I uploaded while creating my profile. I'm going to write down my email address over here now, and here I am going to write down my password. Let's see what are we going to get after hitting this login button. So we are here on this beautiful dashboard, and I'm able to see my pic getting reflected over here, and my email ID is getting reflected on this label box over here. Now we are going to define the code for these two buttons, that is logout button and delete button. Let's reset this app first and go on that coding panel. Okay, let's come down, and over here the ID of this logout button is logout. So we are going to define an on event block first for this logout button. Okay, let's convert it into block based coding and select the ID of this logout button in this first drop down. So that's how we can do it. Where is that logout? This is the one. So when the user will hit this logout button, what should happen? That's what we need to think, right? So basically the user is on his profile, and this button he is going to see on his dashboard. Now when he will hit this logout button, I would like him to get redirected on this sign in screen, so that if he want to log in again into this application, he can do it. So for doing that, what we can do, we can make use of this set screen block available over here in this UI control section of the toolbox right in the bottom, and I'm going to place it inside this on event block like this. So now when the user will hit this logout button, he will go on that screen one. Fine. Now if it is an existing user, so when he will access this app on his device, what will happen? He is going to come on this screen 4 first, right? And there is no connection in between this screen 4 and screen 1. Because of that, he will have to register his profile again. So I don't want an existing user to register his profile again and then use this platform. So what we can do, we can define a button kind of thing over here with which we can help the user, with which we can help the existing user to directly go on that sign in screen and log in into the app using the credentials which he used while creating his profile on this platform. In order to do that, we need to come on this design section, and right below this login button, you'll be able to see this sign in with written over here. Right now, I am going to make it behave like a button. So for that, let's make use of this label box. Let's put it over here. I am eliminating everything whatever is written inside this text input box. Okay, let's change the ID of this label box to sign in. Fine. Now let's come on this coding panel and define the required code for this sign in label box. So let's make use of this on event block. I'm putting it over here. So now when the user will hit this sign in button, I would like him to get redirected on this screen one, right? So for doing that, we can make use of this set screen block and we can put it over here. Fine. That's how you can connect this screen 4 with this screen 1. Okay, and now if it is not an existing user, if he is a new user, we need to send him back on that sign up screen. So for doing that, we can again come on this design panel. Let's define a label box over here. Fine, I am eliminating everything whatever is written inside this input box, and let's change the ID of this to sign up and S, let's make this S capital. Okay, now let's define the required code over here. So I need to select sign up from here, right? So S is in capital, right? Of sign up, S is in capital. We need to search for, okay, this is the one. Fine. Now when the user will hit this sign up button, I would like him to get redirected on this screen 4. Okay, so I'm done with making the connection in between the sign in screen and the sign up screen. Now what? Now when the user will hit this logout button, he's going to come on this sign in screen. Fine. And let's see whether we'll be able to get the desired result or not. So I'm going to run this app. So let's go directly on the sign in screen. Here we are. And here I am going to write down the email address with which I registered my profile on this platform. And here I'm going to mention the password. Okay, let's hit this login button now. Fine. So we are here on this dashboard where I can see my profile pic getting reflected right on the top, and my email ID is getting reflected over here. Let's hit this logout button. So again we are on this sign in screen. Now still this email address and the password which I mentioned is visible to me, right? I don't want this to happen. Okay, once I'm done with logging into this account, they should automatically go disappear from this screen. So for doing that, what we can do, we can convert this first into text-based coding, and we need to come on that coding part we have defined for this login button. So this is the code we have for this login button over here. Fine. Now inside this if loop, I would like to define a line of code with which I can set the text for this password named field. So once the user is done with successfully logging into this app, I would like whatever he has mentioned over here in this password name field should go disappear. So that's how we can do it, right? By passing a null value for the text part of this password name field. Same thing I would like should happen with this component also, right? So whatever, if it is a new user and he has mentioned his password over here, so once he is done with registering his profile on this platform, whatever he has mentioned over here should go disappear. So we can come up in this on event block we have defined for this sign up button, and inside this we can define this code. Let's change the ID to password, P is in small. Fine. Now when the user will hit this sign up button, whatever he has mentioned over here will go disappear. Why? Because we have passed a null value for this field, right? Once the user is done with hitting this logout button, he will come on this screen where he'll get to see his email address written over here in this input field, but he will not be able to see the password, right? So we are done with defining the code for this logout button. Let's now define the code for this delete profile button. If suppose an existing user want to delete his profile from this platform, so how can we give him the required rights? Let's make use of this on event block. I'm going to put it right below this whole code, and here let's change the ID to the ID of this delete button. So I'm changing this one to delete. So when the user will hit this delete button, the first thing that I would like should happen is we would like to read the records from this users named table where the profile information of all the users are getting saved. Okay, so for that we can make use of this read records block, and let's put it over here inside this on event block. Now here let's replace the name of the table with the one in which the profiles information is getting saved. So this is the name. Now how can we find out the information for this profile, the email ID of which is going to get reflected over here, and the profile pic is going to get reflected over here in this image button. So for doing that, let's convert it into text-based coding, and here we can mention the name of this field email, right? And we can get the data from this label box. Okay, the ID of which is label 1. So that's how we can pick up all the data from this user's named table which is present in this table against this email ID. Okay, let's eliminate everything which is there inside this for loop, and here we are going to make use of this delete record block now. Let's place it right inside this for loop. Fine, and I am going to change the ID of this table to users. Now the only thing that we need to mention here is the ID against which this email address is mentioned in this user's named table. So for pulling the ID part, this is the code that you guys can make use of, records_i.id. Okay, now let's see whether we'll be able to get the required output or not. So as you can see, my profile is already already there in this user's name table. Now I am going to run this app on a bigger screen. Let's open a new tab. So this is the sign up screen. I need to go on that sign in screen directly. Fine, here I am going to mention the email address with which I created my profile, and the password of my dashboard is Gaurav123. Let's hit this login button. Okay, so I am there on my profile right now. Let's hit this delete button and see what is going to happen. Fine, I'm done with hitting the delete button. Let's see whether the information which I uploaded while creating my profile is there in the user's named table or not. So as you can see, everything inside this user's named table has been deleted. Fine, so that's how you can delete any profile permanently. Now let's log out from this app and check whether we'll be able to log in again with this email address into this app or not. So for doing that, we can write down the password over here. Let's hit this login button. So I am no more able to log in into this app. Right. Let's come on this advanced login system. Now one thing that we are missing is once the user is done with deleting his profile from this platform, I don't want to see him anymore on his dashboard. Instead of that, I would like to get him redirected on this sign up screen so that he can create his profile again if he want to do it. For doing that, we can come down over here, and right after this point where this read records block is ending, we can define this set screen block so as to redirect the user on this sign up screen. Let's change this ID to screen 4. Fine, and here in order to make it more interactive for the user, let's add a sound also. So I'm going to make use of this play speech block. Your profile has been deleted successfully. Fine, so this is what he is going to hear. Now besides that, I don't want his email address also to get reflected over here. So for doing that, we can pass a null value for this input field, this line of code. Fine, and we can define it right over here. Fine, let's pass a null value for this field also, the ID of which is email. So I need to replace this with email. Okay, let's now run this app and check out whether it is going to give us the correct output or not. Let's create a profile first. So I'm going to select this pic again, and here I'm going to mention this email address. Anubhav123 is the password with which I'm going to create this profile. Now let's hit this login button.
Your profile has been created successfully.
Okay, so the profile has been successfully created. So when you'll come on this data tab, let's see what do we have inside this user's name table. So all the information which I just mentioned for creating Anubhav's profile is getting reflected over here. Now let's go back on that app and log in into this app using this email ID. Anubhav123 is the password. Let's hit this login button. Okay, so I'm able to successfully log in into this app profile pic, and the ID is also getting reflected right on the top. Let's hit this logout button. Okay, I'm going to enter the password over here now. Let's hit this login button. So I'm again able to log in into this app. Right, now if I'll hit this delete button, let's see what is going to happen.
Your profile has been deleted successfully.
Okay, so the profile has been deleted successfully, and as you can see, I'm not able to see the email address and password over here anymore with which I created Anubhav's profile. And if you'll come on this Applab, you will be able to see that everything whatever was there in this user's name table has been deleted. That's how you can make your login system more real, adding this logout button and delete profile button to this system. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this a lot. Do like and share this video. Have a great day. Bye bye.